Week 4 in NFL DFS is a very odd dynamic where the top end of the running back salary chart at FanDuel is solid but unspectacular, whereas the mid and bottom range of running back is really good. And we're not used to that. At least I'm not. So it creates a super weird dynamic where I may wind up having very different rosters than what I'm used to for this week. We're going to break down why that's the case, which of those lower salary backs we're turning to, and their game stacks, and much more to get you set for the Week 4 NFL DFS slate. Welcome on into the Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is Jim Sannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, joined here as I am every Thursday by Brandon Gdula. Check him out on X at Gdula13. He is on Blue Sky at Gdula. Check out his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior managing editor. Brandon, Week 4 is just around the corner. Kind of fun slate, I think. How you doing today?
Yeah, very different slate. It's been a pretty solid start to the year, hoping to keep that going. Just 11 games. We do have a lot of injuries, but not as many games. I'm assuming this is the shortest main slate we've had
so far. Yes.
Yeah. It's probably going to continue.
It's no. Yes, you're right. Yes.
Yes. No.
Yes.
Yes.
Because week 1 was 12 game slate because there were 4 primetime games there.
I feel like it's been 12 every.
I
think it's been 12 the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit, or at least I'll talk a little bit about how that might change things. But yeah, we got some marquee games, some games that get, I don't know. I don't want to say like Colts Rams is only fun for fantasy because I think it's fun for real life as well. But a couple games that are a little more interesting because of the fantasy implications. So it's going to be a good weekend. We got Ryder Cup. So, I think we're going to have a lot of different discussions than we typically do because you mentioned the situation that we have with some injuries opening up and fumbles also in certain one very hyper specific situation. So lots to talk about for this week.
That may be more of a pride injury than it is a physical injury in that situation. We're going to dig into those key situations, outline which players we think are quality plays on FanDuel to get you set for Week 4 in NFL DFS. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to the FanDuel Research Podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. Here every Thursday is our NFL DFS breakdown, breaking down our top plays of that week's main slate. That is also on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page, which is where you can find every single episode of Covering the Spread, including one with some guy named Brandon Gdula breaking down his thoughts on the Week 4 NFL slate from a betting perspective, talking about his new player level NFL model. If for some reason you want to hear more of us talking, check out Covering the Spread on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Leave us a thumbs up. If you're watching YouTube, we appreciate those of you checking in there as always, both watching live in the comments section and watching us after the fact over there. FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. NFL season is finally here. Only question is, are you ready to play? Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bet, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's take a look now at the slate overview here for week number 4. Brandon, I discussed at the top. My view of this slate is that it is a bit of an odd one because I really like a lot of the lower salaried running backs. And it's not like the same as last week where it was, okay, obvious Jordan Mason, Kenneth Walker. It's like a little bit higher salaried, but guys we think feel pretty good about shifting into larger roles. And the top end guys, I think, have some pretty serious flaws. So I tend to be underweight on stud receivers. I don't think that'll be the case this week. So it's a topsy-turvy kind of slate for me. What's your slate overview here for week number 4?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll talk a lot about that throughout the show. Slate overview for me, I kind of touched on this briefly, but 11 games. And I hope it's been clear that I think this is true for you as well, but this year been a little more okay, stacking games more heavily.
Yeah.
And so just going to run through some quick context. It's not a whole trend, but I think this will illustrate why it might make sense, especially as slates get smaller with bye weeks or just smaller more consistently. So 11 games on the board for the main slate. Since 2019, 37% of games have gone over 50 points in the NFL in the regular season, 33% under 40. So basically the math would indicate that if this is a pretty typical week, we get 4 games going over 50 and about 3.7 of these going under 40. So you're really going to want to make sure that if there's only kind of 4 great games that you get access to them. And you, I know this isn't groundbreaking, but I think it's something new that I'm implementing, and it just helps illustrate things to me. And then if you look at things a little bit more specifically, if you look at the games with totals of 47 or more, we've got 4 of those this week, and cutting things off at 50. That bucket has gone over 50 points 45% of the time and under just 27% of the time. And then the inverse, the total is under 40. We've got 5 of those. Under 45, we've got 5 of those. Those have gone under 40 about 43% of the time and over 50 about 27% of the time. So like kind of the inverse. So we're going to want to try to get different, especially with a lot of value running back options. It's going to feel like a really chalky opportunity. Like every single spot is going to be like, well, here are kind of the best plays. And you're going to feel like, well, this is the same, very similar lineup as a lot of people, but there's I think there's merit to that in certain degrees, especially if some value at running back gets you opportunities to stack and play like a Puka Nacua, who's got a 90. Well, he doesn't have a 90% target share, but he and Devontae have like a legitimately no joke, like 70% of the targets. So I think it's going to be an interesting week. It's going to be different than what we typically have. And I'm going to want to make sure that I stack up games heavily this week.
And I think that there are games that feel right for stacking. Yeah. And that to me is a good kind of slate. Kind of back to, like the running back salaries are different, but like we love to stack games. And I think we can do that for this week. We got the green light to do so on this slate. We'll take a look at those game stacks in a bit. Let's start things off, though, by talking about some key injuries across this week 4 main slate, beginning with the marquee game of the week. That is the Chiefs and the Ravens. Xavier Worthy sounds like he's on track to return for the Chiefs. He practiced in full Wednesday, which is his first time doing so since his shoulder injury. We'll talk about the Chiefs and Ravens in the bookmaker section. Jaden Daniels, limited in practice Wednesday with a knee injury. It was his first practice since sustaining the injury a couple Thursdays ago. Sounds like he may be that Terry McLaurin, though, due to a quad issue. So, Brandon, let's assume that Jaden Daniels does play. How are you viewing Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz, and others against the Falcons?
Yeah, interesting spot here for a lot of different reasons, honestly. Jaden Daniels, his efficiency in unlimited sample has not been great so far. I don't know if that'll stick, though, but the Falcons need to get right and get right quickly. Also a revenge game opportunity for Marcus Mariota. So maybe he punches in a goal line score or something like that. Something to keep an eye on.
Can we float the theory that the Daniels injury is fake because they wanted back-to-back Mariota revenge games? Or is that too conspiracy theorist?
For the Titans next week? Who do they play next week? I can't even keep track of how many games
I hope it's Titans. I'm going to say it's Titans. I can't look that far ahead.
But like Mariota's been great. And one of the things that I think could potentially be really good here for specifically Deebo and Zach Ertz is I run expected touchdown numbers. These guys have scored twice apiece, but their expected touchdown numbers haven't been very good. They're they're 2 of 3 names who have scored multiple times but have an expected touchdown total under 0.5. but part of the reason their expected touchdown numbers aren't great is because Terry McLaurin soaks up like one of the biggest money share targets in the entire league. So I still think there'd be efficiency here. I think this really ups the touchdown equity for these two. I don't know on a slate where pretty much all the big names are in play at quarterback that Jaden Daniels is going to make my list.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to push as much as he would need to. So I'm not really there, but Debo and Ertz, I want to hear, we'll talk Debo. That's an easier one, but I also kind of want to hear where you are with one of your arch nemesis, Zach Ertz.
Not there. I'm okay. I used him in like a non-zero number lineups last week and felt very dirty about that. But Debo's salary is $6,400. Given his potential role indoors, I think that's pretty sick. So would be lower if it were Mariota, because I think they'll go a bit more ground and poundy if that were to happen. But if it is Daniels against the Falcons, I'm okay with Debo in that scenario. Not an injury, but Jackson Dart will start for the Giants against the Chargers. He'll be doing so without Tyrone Tracy, which could allow Cam Scadaboo to take on the lead back duties for the Giants. How does Dart influence your view of Cam Scadaboo, Malik Neighbors, and Wan'Dale Robinson as they take on the Chargers?
This is a tricky one because I'm gonna talk about the Chargers. I like the Chargers. I think that the Chargers will win, but it kind of feels as though there's going to be some garbage time here for the Giants, but I don't know how much that they're going to plan to throw the ball in the first half. They might try to keep things try to keep the clock moving. But either way, I feel like Cam Scadaboo is going to be very relevant. He is going to run very hard, whether they are somehow winning this game or they're down by 17 at halftime. That's just never going to stop. And I think there's also kind of something to that, running like Isaiah Pacheco, basically, and just getting what he can, although the usage is probably going to be better than Pacheco's ever really had, just because there's not a whole lot else here. Scadaboo getting as many targets as he can. I just think that this is such an easy justification, despite not loving the game script. I know we joke sometimes about not really joke, but like we comment like, are they going to score? I mean, Cam Scadaboo can really put up enough points, I think, from a yardage standpoint, that if he doesn't score, if the Giants score twice and he doesn't get one, etc., that once you account for how low this salary is, I think it's totally viable. So we're not going to be alone in loving Cam Scadaboo at a salary of $5,400. Yeah. Where are you with him, and basically how high is he on your running back list?
He's probably the RB1 on the slate, accounting for salary, right?
I think so. I don't know how you really get away from viewing him as a top 3 play when you account for the salary.
Yeah, I feel like, to me, considering salary, he has to be the RB1, because you mentioned the targets. That to me is a big thing. And he did that in college too. Got a lot of targets at Arizona State. He was very effective there. We've seen that translate to the NFL. Like, Nick Bolton's a really good player, and Scadaboo trucked him in that game on Sunday night. And the Chargers' run defense hasn't really been tested because they faced a lot of bad rushing offenses so far, and those offenses have been more effective than I would have expected when they actually have run the ball with their backs. So I think it's an okay matchup. I've got this spread at like 6.1, so competitive enough. And I do think that with Dart in there, his legs are a bit of a threat, so could up more lanes for Scadaboo. Andrew Thomas should be a full go for this game too. I think there are enough boxes to make Scadaboo, in my eyes, the RB1, considering salary on this slate.
Yeah, I can't look at his name and read it. I just have to look away from it, because
I need to do like the HTML editor and like change it to Boo,
basically. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're on the same page here. Now I know you're a big Jackson Dart guy long term. Yeah. I think that this is a tricky spot to have your first start. Yeah. He's been on the field, haven't seen him throw.
Yeah.
How do you think this looks for the pass catchers this week?
Probably pretty muted volume if they can, if I had to guess. Yeah. Just because, like, if you're Brian Dable, you want to put Jackson Dart in a position to succeed. And you could argue that means throwing the ball, so he's not, when he does throw, he's not in 3rd and long. Like, I think that's a valid argument. But I would bet they go pretty run heavy here. And probably would too, just to kind of like slow things down for Dart. Although it sounds like they want to go like up tempo, which is pretty interesting. So I don't know. That could boost the entire game. I like Neighbors and Robinson. I want to see what the approach is like first. So probably not going to get there this week. There are a ton of receivers to love on this slate. So I'm okay being a bit lower there, even though I do think this offense will do enough to be competent.
Yeah, the Giants, their adjusted pace, so you count for game context, it has ticked down in like the faster sense with each passing game. I think with the I think Dayball now has like everything's riding on how this goes. We talked about this on covering the spread, but stating specifically that Jackson Dart's the starter for the rest of the year was the way that I'm reading that is we know he might not be great this week, but don't ask us if we're going back to Russ. That's concerning. The one thing that I do think is interesting, and I know that Malik Neighbors is not 100% here. It was very obvious that you can't walk away from a game and just not really involve Neighbors. So this kind of feels like you get Malik Neighbors 15 targets and Jackson Dart throws 23 times. Mm-hmm. Like we've seen Neighbors have substantial target shares. I think I actually looked at, for some weird reason, I was looking at like single game target shares and I saw like a 66.7%. This would have been last year. And I was like, well, that can't be right. And I was like, who was this? And it was Neighbors. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. So I think that he could get there based on volume, but at the salary of 8,400, there's no real wiggle room for he got 11 targets, 57 yards, didn't score. Like there's no coming back from that. That's just a miss. So, but I do want to point out that I think Neighbors could have one of those 50+% target share games. Then it depends on you, what you think he does with that.
Yep. I agree with that. And so it could happen, but probabilistically, probably not going to get there. Yeah. Deacon asked on YouTube if we're going to have Scadaboo if we have one single entry lineup. I would say yes. Figure out a way to be different elsewhere. That'd be my reply.
Yeah, it's still an 11 game slate, so popularity numbers are only going to get so high.
Yeah,
and this is a salary because like same game Amari and Hampton 7,000. Let's say like they were projected to be the same level of popularity. There's a lot more downside in missing at 7,000.
Correct.
For Scadaboo to be like if he plays the game that we expect, his worst outcome, if we're kind of being his worst outcome is not finishing the game, but that's not what we're talking about here. Like it's 60 some yards, some catches, like he's going to get you 8 probably.
Right. Yeah.
And that's like worst sort of case. And it's 5,400. You can play a tight end at 5,400 and hope to get 8 points. So I still think that there's no real way to overthink it if you're playing one lineup, unless you just think that he's not going to be the guy, which I don't know how you get there really.
I agree with that. Other side of that game, Will Dissly didn't practice Wednesday with a knee injury. Dissly missed last week, and Aronde Gadsden II popped up a bit in that one. We'll talk about them in the trend section. Brock Purdy may be back for the Niners this week. He was limited in practice again on Wednesday after also practicing last week. Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall missed practice, though. Pearsall said he could have played if there were a game that day, while Jennings seemed more up in the air. They get the Jags this week. What's your interest level in the Niners if we assume that Purdy is back for this game?
Very high. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, I haven't looked at this. Like I've looked at the salaries I went through and like made notes and stuff, but I haven't thought about the slate as much as I typically do leading in. I just figured that we would hash it all out and I'd get a feel. If not for Scadaboo, like McCaffrey's clearly in that conversation of just being like the RB1 with how good his workload is. His expected touchdown numbers lead the league and he's only scored once. So there's a lot of potential here, especially if you have a pretty substantial quarterback upgrade in the cards for McCaffrey. So there's that. Like he's borderline RB1. He's not, but like he's in that conversation.
He's in the top 3 no matter what, I feel like.
Yeah. And Brock Purdy at salary in most weeks would be like, he's the QB1. The problem is we probably have running back salary, and we have Lamar Jackson playing in a close game, which historically brings out the best in Lamar.
Yeah.
So if they're kind of similar tiers of like, could be the top of the position at salary, but probably isn't. But with that said, really interested here. And Pearsall, I mean, the market shares, the production, he just is a good football player. So
yeah,
I like a lot of them. We know where to go, and then we kind of get out of it. But what are your thoughts here?
I agree with everything you said. I think that McCaffrey is a top 3 back on the slate, between Hampton for 2, RB2 behind Scadaboo for me. I feel like maybe Bucky Irving in that discussion too, once you consider salary. So I would say McCaffrey a top 2 or 3 running back play on the slate. I would say that Pearsall is a solid way to save some salary at receiver. 63 is not low necessarily, but it's also not very high. And I'm still not fully sold in this Jags defense. You know, they faced Bryce Young, Jake Browning, and CJ Stroud in that broken Texans lineup. And like the Texans had some big plays against them too. So I think you can move the ball in the Jags. And I agree, the Purdy is worth considering. If I can use Purdy to get to McCaffrey plus Puka Nacua, maybe Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams in the lineup, that's pretty attractive to me. So I do like Purdy. I would prefer a full by Friday situation, but we'll see on him for sure.
I think we're in agreement here.
Cool. Other side of that game, De'Ami Brown missed practice Wednesday with a shoulder injury for the Jags. The team has said this won't impact Travis Hunter's role on offense for them. So would you shift your view of the Jags if De'Ami Brown can't go here against the Niners?
Is he still their leading receiver?
Parker Washington or De'Ami Brown? I think Parker
Washington. De'Ami Brown
now.
was.
Brenton Strange is. Oh, he is?
In terms of yardage.
Oh, interesting.
Brenton
Strange. He's playing the black hole this week, so hard pass there.
Yeah. Strange is at 137, De'Ami Brown 116 on 14 targets, Brian Thomas 115 on 25 targets, so 1 fewer yard on 9 more targets. Parker Washington $110. You can't consider Travis Hunter. He's a two-way player. I don't know what they're doing. I'm not as smart as when it comes to football as people who work in football to that degree. I'll say that, but I don't really understand what's happening. I can say that much. So I'm looking for something.
Yeah.
I don't really see it.
Yeah. I also think I know there's no Nick Bosa, which does downgrade the Niners a pretty significant amount, but like Robert Saleh's kind of in his bag again this year, I think, for the Niners as their DC. It's been fun to watch. They've got a lot of injuries, so maybe it doesn't matter, but I think they're playing good defense even with the injuries. So I'm kind of okay not going hard at the Jags. I think the Niners should be more heavily favored in this game than what they are right now. If we assume that Purdy, part of it's because it's not a guarantee Purdy goes, but I think they'll control things here. So pretty heavily into the Niners here. And as a result, not as enthused about the Jaguar side of things, even if we don't get De'Ami Brown in this game. Let's talk now about some game stacks. And honestly, they are pretty fun for this week. So we got a couple of indoor games that have high totals and relatively tight spreads. Let's start with the game that I think is the most fun on this slate. That is the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Never would have thought that I would have been saying that as being the most fun game, but here we are. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, Rams favored by 3.5, and the total in this game is 49.5. The Colts have passed every test so far, but I'm still skeptical of their defense. So that makes me like this game quite a bit. What's your read on it?
Yeah, it's a game we talked about on covering the spread as well. I pointed out that my total model liked this, it has it at over 50, but the total shot up the actual over under from 46.5 to 49.5. So I think that we're not going to be alone in taking a good long look at this game. What's really interesting here is that we generally know where the ball is going, and you don't always get that in some of these games. And it's also strange to say that because it's the Colts. Like, they're historically just problematic when it comes to how they've utilized their pass catchers in the past. But starting things off for me with Jonathan Taylor, he's been phenomenal, and I don't know when that's going to end. His role, one of the things that was really interesting for JT as I was prepping for some season long stuff was his season long market share, or sorry, player props were pretty disgustingly good, and he's proven that they were right.
Yeah,
he is just basically kind of like a healthy Derrick Henry. I don't think he gets
with
that
more
much
targets.
and he's getting targeted, but he's the kind of guy who can score from 70 out or score twice from inside the 5 and salvage a mediocre day and make it really strong. And, I think that JT is really interesting. We're talking about Puka Nacua at 94. I don't want to overlook JT here, but I'm with you overall, holistically. Not sold on the Colts totally.
Sure.
But I want to get here, and I feel like we kind of know where it's going. So I kind of like how this one sets up. What are your
And I think the
here?
pieces go really well together. By that, I mean, I can go with Puka Nacua, maybe put Devontae in there too, and then I can run it back with Tyler Warren at tight end. And to me, that's a really fun stack. If I don't mind having Stafford in there, frankly, given that what we need out of a quarterback who is a pocket passer to pay off in DFS, you need 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. And he can do that, frankly, in this setup. So I like the way things mesh here, where I can stack this game pretty easily and not feel that bad about it. So it could be a game where I have my game stacks be pretty concentrated around Nacua, Adams. He didn't practice on Wednesday, but it sounds like he'll be okay. Warren as a bring back, JT as a bring back as well, but more of a secondary option behind Warren, and then filtering in some Michael Pittman too. He's been really productive this year, but he's still not getting downfield or high leverage targets, and that's kind of annoying. So I don't hate the salary 58. Still not enthused with the role. I don't know. He's playing well and he's healthy this year, which is important. So I will get there, but I'm not going to prioritize him. So I think it's a situation where things just match up really well. And part of the reason why I feel really good about this, if you look at the Colts game by game numbers, they have faced some bad offenses. They have faced Miami, Denver, and Tennessee. 3 of the worst offenses in football. And they've actually led up a little bit of success to those. So I'm sold on the offense being above average, or at least good. I had not sold on the defense. I think they might be not very good at all. So that's why I want to go pretty heavy Nacua this week in 94, especially given I can with the context of this slate.
Yeah, Nacua has multiple paths to being great. The problem with Nacua so far has just been a subpar red zone role because
and
everything
that's the same
goes
as he's had his entire career. He is Robert Woods 2.0.
It's so strange. Devontae's got a 47% red zone target share, 56% of the money targets. So when you're inside the 10 or in the end zone when you're targeted is what I consider a money target. And Puka's at 17%. But like you said, this is one of those spots where you're going to get literally over 65% of the targets with one quarterback.
Yeah.
And if you think this game does score points, unless you think there are rushing touchdowns, a Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams double stack makes sense. It doesn't always make sense. I'm receptive to the double stacks more than I have been in the past.
Yeah.
Doesn't always make sense when you're guessing between 4 pass catchers.
Yeah.
Just from a baseline process standpoint. This one's super easy. My question to you, though, is this a 2 QB game?
Nope. Daniel Jones' salary is too high at 74, I think. I know he runs a bit, and I know he does run in the red zone. He does have some sneak appeal, but not for me. This is going to be the best pass rush he has faced so far. I think the Rams, if we get chaotic Daniel Jones again, I'm worried about what that looks like. So I won't get there personally.
I think people are going to like him a decent amount this week. On the road, I know it's Los Angeles, but
yeah,
I get wanting to be, you got to be ahead of things, but we're also dealing with, you can look at for anybody watching intently here, you see the passing touchdowns, just 1 per in each game. He's not a rushing only quarterback by any means, but I don't know how often he's going to throw for 4 touchdowns in a game, and maybe it's this week, but I'm lower on Jones. If I'm playing one quarterback here, it's going to be Stafford more often than not. I think I'm higher on Jones than you, but still not necessarily going out of my way to prioritize him, mostly because of the names at the top of the board.
Where are you at with Kyren Williams? $7,800. I don't know. He had some pretty good runs against Philly, which was good, but he's losing a bit more work to Blake Corum than he did in the past. And we were never that high on Williams because the upside was a concern. It was like he would get there via volume. And now I have more concerns about the volume. So as much as I like the Rams, I'm not as into Kyren. Are you?
Not really.
Okay.
It feels like I should be more receptive to it in a game that I like, and the Blake Corum stuff's a little bit kind of overstated just because Kyron's effectively played 70% of the snaps in all 3 games.
But it used to be 90.
It used to be 90. The salary also used to be like 88.
Sure.
I still think he's at capacity just due to what the long-term yardage upside is. So I'm more likely not to get there on Kyren than I am to get there.
I would agree with that as well. Any final thoughts for you on this game?
No.
All right. Let's talk then about our second game. Another game that is indoors with a high total and a tight spread. That is the Las Vegas Raiders hosting the Chicago Bears. Total is 47.5. The Raiders are the slightest favorites, but it's effectively a pick. Raiders money line -112. Bears setting at -104. Bears offense looked really good last week. Caleb Williams had some fun passes. We know the ball is going to Roma Dunze, which is pretty fun. I can ignore the running backs. The Bears defense, still not very good, I don't think. So are you looking to stack this game?
Yeah. I like the Bears. We talked about this game as well on covering the spread. I think the Bears, I brought it up at the end because I wanted to talk about the Bears spread. I like this offense. There's another spot where you kind of know where the ball's going for the most part. Caleb Williams, good enough for me from a fantasy standpoint. From an efficiency standpoint to take advantage. I'm not worried about a road situation in Las Vegas. It just doesn't really translate a ton. It's not a traditional home field advantage spot. So last week I ended up on Caleb after the dust settled and I was really locking in.
And your
it worked out.
Lineup put up like 654 points.
No CD though. That was unfortunate.
Felt great. Yeah. To get dusted by a lineup where one of the key players left immediately.
So for me, I don't think he's like it's strange because I like this spot, but he's not really in that QB. He's definitely not in the QB1 conversation. I don't even know if I'm going to end up getting here very often because I think Lamar by far and away in a close game that they can't lose is the QB1.
Okay.
And Brock Purdy, if he plays, is probably potentially the QB2. Okay. But really easy way to stack him. He's rushing. He's got 5 carries and at least 5 carries in all 3 games. And I'm not really worried about this defense. So I've also heard some buzz on like Geno. This is another question I got to ask you. Is this a 2 QB game? Is it 1? Is it 1 because it's 0.75 and a 0.25 or something? So
it's a firm 1 with Caleb. I will have him in my player pool. I can say that definitively. Geno, I would be open to. I would need this. I need some things to break against this quarterback slate. Like I would need no Brock Purdy, basically. I would need like maybe Tristan Wirfs doesn't play. I don't know if I'm high on Baker anyway. I might be higher on Hurts than you based on the way things have sounded. So I don't think I'll get to Geno. I'm not opposed to him. I just think there are better plays. Are you higher on him than that?
Sorry, higher on who specifically?
On Geno.
No, I don't really like Geno that much.
Okay, cool. So I don't think we'll either get to Geno, but I am in on Caleb. I think that he will be in my player pool. He's a top 4 quarterback play to me, I think. I agree with your thoughts on Lamar. I agree with you on Purdy. But then it's like maybe Caleb and Hurts battling for QB3 for me.
Yeah, sorry. The way that I'm framing it is like last week I ended up on QB1 for Caleb. I like this spot, but I like other quarterbacks. We didn't really have a quarterback last week. Like Now we've got multiple. And so Caleb's just not the guy, but he's
Yeah.
still in that conversation for being like one of the guys.
Okay. It doesn't hurt that the Raiders have been very good against the rush and very bad against the pass. So I think that's another reason for me to consider Caleb in this spot. All right. So let's talk about the running backs. I'm not using DeAndre Swift. You may make a different argument if you want. The reason I went to this tab then is to talk to you about Ashton Genty. His salary is $6,800. His offensive line is bad, and that's led to some inefficient play from Genty and potentially a reduced role. I don't want to cross him off at 68. I want to give consideration to him. That does not guarantee he's in my player pool. Am I dumb to consider Genty at 68?
No, if you think that this is a bit of a breakout game overall where there are a lot of points.
Yeah.
He's getting carries. You can't take that away from him. He's a good talent. You can't take that away from him. But overall, I just don't I don't know if he's going to. It's like the yardage hasn't been there, and I could see the yardage being there and like, they're just not scoring touchdowns kind of thing.
Sure.
It's just been like, he had some receiving questions coming out of college, but you would think
in his last year, but like the year before that, he was exceptional in the passing game, at least, which helps.
I mean, he was definitely more utilized before his final year, and then things got a bit sticky, which you never love to see. I mean, it's kind of the data is the data, and sometimes it's indicative of stuff, but I think he's fine. I just don't think he's like coming close to a cash game or top lineup kind of conversation. So
I think he's a fringe player pool guy, but someone I at least want to consider given how much I do. I think this game is pretty fun. So let's talk about the pass catchers. Rome Odunze 72 has had you use the word alpha on covering the spread. I agree. Like you look at his like market shares, they're like, I have like, when I was building out my touchdown model, I had like different archetype labels for people, and like he fit in the alpha bucket based on the usage he's been getting so far this year. So you got him at 72, DJ Moore 63, Jacoby Myers 61, and then also Brock Bowers 67. I'm not opposed to any of them. I'm lowest on Moore of that group, but like Jacoby's fine. Brock Bowers solid at tight end. I had the salary to get there this week. So Odunze, Bowers, the standouts to me, and both those guys are going to be players I use quite a bit, but receptive to Jacoby. Probably will have DJ Moore and some Caleb lineups. How are you viewing the pass catchers?
A lot of strong likes.
Sure.
Not necessarily. It's peculiar because I should like this more. I should be looking at these guys for sort of those one-off, mini stack. I'm building one lineup. I play Lamar, so I'm not playing Caleb, but I'm still trying to get a mini stack here. For some reason, I feel a little bit lower on everyone but Rome. Rome's just like game changer. I don't know if it's just like what we've seen from Bowers to this degree. I don't know if he's hampered still.
Yeah.
The salary's coming down, which is nice, but at 67, there's still no real wiggle room for like if he gets you 9.1, you're disappointed in that. So I want to like this more. I just kind of don't.
I think the pitch on Bowers is that Michael Mayer is in concussion protocol, and I think probably pretty unlikely to play this week. And part of the reason Bowers was less interesting was because he wasn't running every route. They had Mayer out there quite a bit. This may force him to use Brock Bowers more if Mayer can't be out there. Salary has come down. They are at home, slight favorites, high total, tight spread. I think he just checks a lot of boxes, and I can get there this week given the Scattaboo, Hampton, et cetera of it all. So that's why I want to be on Bowers specifically this week.
It's a strong case. Anytime you can get a tight end who's a real difference maker, who actually puts up, it's more like 15 plus is that's like kind of the 20 plus for receivers and kind of running backs. Like if you have that conversation and you think he gets there, he scores, he's got 100 yards, like absolutely. But early on in the year, I feel like or at least the first 2 weeks, it felt like, I know last week was different. It sort of felt as though you had Bowers, you had McBride, is the go-tos. Kittle that first week. But last week, it was more the value names just because the higher salary guys were in road spots. I'm not sure I'm bouncing back to that like week 1, week 2, just plug in Brock Bowers because we have the salary.
Right.
It feels wrong, but that's kind of where I am with it for some reason.
No, I get it. I think it makes sense. And he's not a priority the way he was in week 1. He and McBride were priorities in week 1. He's a solid play for me in week 4 is how I view it. Any Trey Tucker thoughts? Obviously went bananas last week. He's had 8 and 9 targets the past 2 games. Geno can chuck it. Bears secondary is toast. I think the salary's too high personally at 6,000, especially if people are going to chase what he did last week. So I had to ask it at least. I'm probably not going to get there, but I do want to get your thoughts on Trey Tucker first.
It feels point chasey from just kind of going there. But the breakout sometimes leads to legitimate changes.
Sure.
I don't know if that muddies the waters and now there are multiple pass catchers to be thinking about. That's a bit of a concern. But if you exclude week 1, Tucker's actually because Bowers was limited, so it kind of throws a lot of things off. Trey Tucker leads in target share at 24%. 31% of the air yards, which also leads 30% of the red zone targets, a third of the money targets. So he's basically been like Jacoby Myers, but has been more efficient on a per route basis, which, those big plays will do that for you. So I think the 6 starting the salary changes so much in my head. Always.
Like if he's 54, 55, it's different.
I'm even saying like he's 59. It's like, well, yeah, it's a value. Now it's like, well, he's compared to
Pearsall
the
63.
Yeah. So again, this is one of those spots though. If I play Caleb and Rome, and maybe I just go Caleb and Rome, and I bring it back with 2 pass catchers, like he's in that conversation at least.
Yeah. I think he helps me talk myself out of Jacoby, which is good because I don't really want to be there. Like it's all a volume thing, and if Tucker will get more volume, that hurts Jacoby, and I can write him off, which would be good. Okay, let's talk now about our final game on the game stack section. That is the most fun real life game on the slate. That is the Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's fun because both these teams are 1-2. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, the Ravens favored by 2.5, pretty heavy 2.5, -118. So this should get to 3 at bet by Sunday. And then total in this game, 48.5. Xavier Worthy should be back in some capacity. Some rumblings, he may be limited in that capacity, but I don't know. He's full in practice on Wednesday. We know the Chiefs have their issues, and they have not played a fun game, and it feels like a decade. But are you still looking to stack this one, given how important it is for both sides?
Yeah, this is a spot where it feels like you could be sitting pretty after the early games, and then you
all
have
3 game stacks we discussed are in the late window,
and then you have these 3 games coming. But not only that, you have, I can easily say 2 of the game's best quarterbacks going head to head in a game that is effectively a playoff game.
Yeah.
And the answer isn't always, well, let's try to grind the clock.
Yeah.
My biggest fear here is that because the Ravens have struggled to stop the run, and for as much as the Chiefs running backs haven't done much, between Mahomes scrambles and just their sort of efficiency in general on the ground, that they try to do what they did a bit to the Giants last week.
Sure.
And just be like, we're just going to sustain drives and keep the other offense off the field. That's the way I think this thing could falter. I don't know how likely that is because you're also going to get the ball to Lamar Jackson. And in games where there's been a tight spread, he's been pretty phenomenal. So since he started his career in games where the spread's been within 3 points either way, and he's had at least 10 pass attempts, Lamar's gone over 25 FanDuel points in 44% of his games and over 30 and 20%. And that's a 25 game sample. So I talked about this, like this is a spot where you just kind of play Lamar, I feel like.
Sure.
And you use the value at running back, you used some value at receiver to play Lamar. And that breaks so much open because this means I have to like this game. I have to kind of think that the Ravens score 4 to 5 touchdowns. And Lamar's got at least 3 or 4 of those himself.
I agree with that. I think that Lamar in a tight setup in a must-win game is always going to be hard to pass up, given that he's going to run. And I know that there's been like some weird talk about him like not being as fast. I disagree. Do we forget week 1? He looked really good in week 1, I thought. And when you put him in a setup where it's this important, I think he can have a ceiling game. I think you could say the exact same thing, though, about Patrick Mahomes. And I don't want to write him off at $7,800. I know the production has been bad so far this year, but it sounds like Worthy should be back. You said it's basically a playoff game. Well, when does Patrick Mahomes run? During playoff games. He has run for 50-plus yards twice already this year. He's had 23-plus FanDuel points twice, despite having 3 total passing touchdowns so far this year. Partially he had some rushing touchdowns in the first 2 games too. But if we get Worthy back, I think there's a path to Mahomes being a solid play. Stacking him is extremely difficult, but I think he should at least be a consideration. Are you receptive to Mahomes? Is this a 1.25 quarterback game? Where are you on him?
I like Mahomes more than that.
Okay, cool.
I don't even know if you need to force a stack.
Sure.
Honestly, sometimes you just say, hey, he throws 3 touchdowns, they go to 3 different guys, and you let it be. Worthy's salary being what it is at 67, I know I've said this like 15 times already, but like leaves no wiggle room for like, he was a decoy, or, you know, he got his 7 targets. He got like 60 yards. He scored. He got 12 points. It's like, that's not a high upside outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like, we can't even play the full by Friday game. It's like literally his.
Yeah.
So I think I'm more likely to play Mahomes by himself than I should be, just because this is a quarterback who I feel like this is just good playoff Mahomes he threw for 320. He ran for 40. His 3 touchdowns went to 3 different guys. One guy you never heard of in your life, but he was good. But if you stacked him with other names, you probably did yourself a disservice.
Right.
I just can't overstate. The Ravens and the Chiefs are 1-2, and the loser of this game is 1-3. Yeah. Like, this game has to matter for both sides so much. And yes, I know there's a case where both teams just run the ball, try to play keep away. It doesn't seem like that's really going to be the case, though.
Yep, I agree with that too. It's going to be, I think, a pretty fun game. And I agree with you too that we can run Mahomes with no stacking partner. Like, that's fine by me. I do like Zay Flowers a lot, though, if we look at the other side of the ball. Zay Flowers' salary is $7,300. Again, going to be a very important game. It was important on Monday, too, and Flowers did nothing. But even when you include what happened on Monday Night Football, Flowers' market shares are still really, really good. In the 3 games this year, 31% overall target share with a 42% deep target share. I feel like we can write off Monday Night as being pretty fluky. So Flowers at 73 to me is a player I like both inside and outside of game stacks. He is someone, when I have Lamar, I'm going to pair him with Zay Flowers 70% of the time. Maybe a bit higher. I don't know. 70% is probably in that range there. Where are you with Zay Flowers and other pass catchers in this game?
Not 70%.
Why?
I love Zay Flowers, but and he's like a Malik Neighbors in the, he got 64% of the targets. That tracks. I just think that there's enough potential where Lamar gets there by running for 2 scores or runs for 117 yards and a touchdown. But he's also throwing the ball to anybody he can, similar to Mahomes. We've seen some fluky touchdowns based on their names. Charlie Kohler could go out and score a touchdown. Like, I like Zay Flowers. It's 73. It just feels high for a guy who's effectively in the AJ Brown role. It's at its peak. So to go 70%, I just can't quite get there. I'd be more like 40 to 50%. Just personally.
Okay. I'm a bit higher than that.
I know.
Would you go Bateman at all at 60 or 56? Or because I'm not personally, but
I don't think so.
Okay.
There's just not enough of a consistent receiver to basis.
Agreed.
On this team.
Yep. And then I'd bet Isaiah Likely's back for this game. He's been practicing for a couple weeks now. Does that push Mark Andrews off the table for you 53?
Not off completely. I know Isaiah Likely was like league winner after week 1. You had to go get him last year. It didn't really
Against
stick.
The Chiefs.
It didn't really stick. Mark Andrews had his issue in the playoffs, of course, but he's been solid. And I think that for the salary being what it is, I would still be okay with Mark Andrews. I think Andrews might be the key for potentially not having as much say.
Okay.
But that's kind of where I am.
Because it's been rough so far this year. He had that huge game week 1, obviously. 169 yards and 18 carries, 2 touchdowns, but he's now fumbled in 3 consecutive games. The rushing efficiency and the rushing volume have both been, I would say, poor. Now, the Browns are a great rush defense. They've been phenomenal there this year. The Lions in general have been pretty good as well. The Chiefs so far this year, rush defense has been, I would say, gettable. Salary is $9,000. You're not getting a discount on Henry. If they fall behind, he's probably dust. How are you viewing him this week? I think he's a very hard guy to understand.
He is. This is, you can make the same case basically that I just made for Lamar of this is a playoff game.
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry is not going to walk away from this one with 11 carries or 12 carries. However,
didn't he in a playoff game against the Chiefs one time and everyone yelled at Todd Monken for 6 months?
However, he's had he's had some big rushes against the Bills, which I guess isn't saying that much necessarily at this point.
Sure.
His rushing success rate is 34.1%, which is in the range. It's below DeAndre Swift. It's just above Ashton Genty. He's like the Antonio Gibson kind of tier in terms of success rate. So you're still kind of banking on the big plays, which he has. So for me to sit here and say there's no chance, I can't do that. The probability that he has a huge game, it doesn't seem that likely at the moment.
I guess like if you ask yourself, like this game goes over 48.5.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry is involved in that pretty often. So like a Mahomes bring back where it's like, oh, Henry had 2 big runs that led to a lot of volume for the Chiefs. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think he's a standalone play.
No,
he's not a core play for me either.
Yeah, there's no way with the and he just is not going to be on the field if the Chiefs play from ahead. I know that's not what the spread says, but I think this Chiefs team is underrated.
I agree.
Which is really strange to say, but public perception has really turned on the Chiefs, it seems like.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the betting splits still are showing on FanDuel Sportsbook at this point in this game.
72% of the money is on Baltimore right now, which is a bit higher than it was yesterday.
Yeah. So I think Mahomes plus Henry is really interesting, but that's tournaments only.
Yeah, very much so. And like if you're doing 5 single entry lineups, I don't feel the need to get there. So that's kind of the way that I view it. It's one I want to get to, but yeah, because I'll have more than 5. That's how I'm at there. All right, let's go now to our trends discussion for week number 4 and talk about an offense that has been fun so far this year in the Los Angeles Chargers. It's fun not just because they've been efficient with Justin Herbert, but also because they've got 3 guys with a 20% target share in the passing offense. That can be confusing, but I'd rather have 3 guys at 20% than 3 guys at 19%. And there are some guys above that as well. So you're going to run through the Chargers and their passing offense. They get set for a matchup with the Giants this week.
Yeah, so I know the spread is relatively close for the Chargers, who are power ranking as one of the best teams in football, whether it's the eye test, the metrics, what have you. Against the Giants team that seems like they're spinning out of control and starting a rookie quarterback, I like the Chargers here, and it seems like I'm a little bit not on an island here, but I really like this spot where they can go step on another team's neck and just put more distance between them and the AFC West, as they just started off by beating all three of those teams. So through 3 weeks, the Giants are 30th in overall adjusted defense, according to Number Fire's metrics. They're 25th in adjusted pass defense, 32nd in adjusted rush defense, 27th in completion percentage over expectation allowed, 25th in pressure rate allowed, and 25th in ADOT, so average depth of target allowed. They're a little bit better, but barely whenever you adjust for opponents faced in those last 3 metrics, but still not great. So I think that Justin Herbert and the Chargers have a really good shot of getting to 4-0, looking like one of the best offenses in football again. Herbert's off to an elite start himself, just under 287 yards a game, 2 touchdowns per game. His EPA per dropback number is a 0.21, according to Next Gen Stats. Passing success rate's 50%, which is amazing. He's running 6 times per game for 23 yards per game. I don't know if he's going to rush a ton in this one. Don't know if he's going to have to. But as far as the pass catchers go, that's where things get interesting, because you mentioned the 3 guys with 20+% target shares. You would think that would favor Ladd McConkey, especially based on his salary of 7,700, which if I'm not mistaken, it was lower last week, right?
I think it was 72-ish.
It was like maybe 75. I think it was 75.
Yeah.
And Keenan was like 6 and Quentin Johnson was like 58 or something.
Yeah. Quentin Johnson posterizes Patrick Surtain. He's still only 62. That's sick.
So Keenan Allen leads in target share. He's at 26%. He leads in red zone share as well at 40%. His efficiency's been good, 2.23 yards per route run. And on a target per route basis, he's at 32.2%. I talk pretty often about an elite mark being 30%. So when he's out there, he's getting the ball. When he's running routes, he's getting the ball. You like that. Still, fair to question what the long-term yardage upside is, but if you expect this team to score and the salary's a mid-6 number, some guy with multiple touchdown upside, that's appealing. But Quentin Johnston, while not the wide receiver 1 by target share, he's at 22%. He does have 35% of the air yards, 33% of the red zone targets, and 39% of those money targets. So you imagine that ball from like the 30, lob one in the end zone. It's not going to show up as a red zone target, but it's a high leverage target. He's getting a lot of those looks, and he's also getting that yardage upside. Now, yes, it's still under 100. It's not like he's busting out for 100 yards super often, but those are pretty rare receiver anyway. And the salary being at 62 is like really, really enticing. Now, the potential bounce back spot is Ladd McConkey. But with that said, there are some subpar metrics in terms of his overall target shares. He's at 20% on the full season, but not a lot of the high leverage looks. 6.7% of the red zone looks, just 11% of the money targets. And he's down at a 20% target per route rate, which is pretty much average. You have to ask yourself, is that going to stick? It's most likely not. However, I'm going to say it again, hopefully for the last time, there's not a lot of wiggle room if he's their wide receiver 3. You're kind of toast if he goes for what he's done so far this year, which is a little bit of a problem. However, maybe the efficiency of the other receivers just starts to draw more attention away from Ladd, and he comes back with a double-digit target game, scores once or twice. Problem, though, is again, I track expected touchdowns, so it's based a lot on where you are on the field whenever you're targeted as far as receivers go, because you don't really bump up your expected scoring until you get close to the goal line. Expected touchdowns for this team is 2.2 for Johnston, 2.1 for Keenan Allen, and just 0.6 for Ladd. So that is a holistic look of how good your usage in terms of scoring. It's a little bit of a problem. So the salary not coming down at 77 is problematic, honestly. I still think he's a great tournament play because it's going to be so much easier to play Justin Herbert plus Keenan and QJ if you want to together. So I think Ladd's going to be forgotten about. Quentin Johnston against the team letting up a high ADOT is really interesting. And Keenan, let's not forget, he still does have the best overall workload here. You also have a good running back opportunity with Amari and Hampton. Najee Harris out for the year. This guy graded out great in my prospect model. He was a very, very high draft pick in 2025 for being a running back. And now he's kind of thrust into we can't really baby him anymore. And we saw what he could kind of do last week with 7 targets and 19 carries. So rounding things out, Justin Herbert at a salary of $7,900. It's appealing. It's a little less appealing because there's all these big names on the board. But he's got 3 stack candidates, which is not too many. I'm not getting to Gadsden. I don't know what Will Disley's, health looks like, but he basically got like a lot of targets on a handful of routes, which probably is not like
7 targets on 15 routes on 52 dropbacks.
Love that. So I think Herbert going kind of under 20 FanDuel points in 2 straight. You got other names. He's an interesting tournament play. Not someone I would go to in a cash game as like the best option, especially on the road. But I like all these guys, including Hampton. So how are you viewing this team entering week 4?
Sounds very similar to you, where I like Hampton quite a bit, given that Sexy Dexy seems a little banged up for the Giants. They showed some shots of him over on the sideline in their most recent game. So that's potentially led to the poor rush defense for the Giants. I'm not really sure if that's the case, but it seemed that way. So I think that Hampton with that role is really good. Quentin Johnston's salary is too low, 62. Like, again, not only did the Broncos choose to put Surtain on Johnston, which to me says something like, hey, we think this guy's legit. We got to shut him down. Like, I know it's because he's outside a lot. It's like, that's part of it. But also, he was good despite that. So he gets a good matchup this time around. I think that's really attractive. So I like Hampton a lot. I like Johnston a lot. I don't know how much I'll get to Herbert just because it's an indoor team going outdoors, which is never my favorite kind of setup, especially in a slate where I have Hurts, Lamar, et cetera on this slate. But I don't mind him. I think he's totally fine. He's probably like at best QB5, so I might not get there. But I do like Johnston a lot. I like Hampton a lot. Scatterboo is an easy bring back. It's a solid game, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those where if this game's good, we likely know how it's good.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to throw it out there. How many lineups would you need to get to before you play Jackson Dart?
150.
Okay.
I love Jackson Dart. I think he's going to be very fun. I don't feel the need to force it at quarterback this week, personally. What about you?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I would love to be wrong about that because the NFL be better if Jackson Dart is good. So I hope he proves me wrong. That'd be great. Let's move to our second trend. And I want to talk about some early defensive metrics that we've seen across the NFL. Now, defense is not sticky. Opponent adjustments are very hard this kind of year, but we've gotten 3 games. That's enough to start looking at some data. So I want to dig in a bit and see if there are any key takeaways for this slate. One of the big ones, something we discussed a bit in the bookmaker section, the Colts defense is not great once you adjust for schedule. They've been pretty tough. They're pretty tough in not a complimentary way against the pass. So that's why I like Puka Nacua. The Colts are the second worst team in schedule adjusted pass defense on downs by my numbers. Only team worse than them is the Cowboys. I find that interesting. That's not going to stick. I think that's just, small sample weirdness with like opponent adjustments, etc. But I do want the Rams for sure. The Bears, Buccaneers, and Patriots have all struggled against the pass too, early downs. I find that kind of interesting. So I like Brock Bowers. I think that's interesting for the Raiders. Could be good for A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts for a second consecutive week as well. Against the run, the Giants, who you just discussed, the Titans, and the Chiefs have struggled most. Good for Marion Hampton, who we just discussed. Maybe Derrick Henry. I could not care less that the Titans struggle against the rush. I'm not using Nick Chubb or Woody Marks, so that one is irrelevant to me. Interestingly, the Chargers have not been good against running backs. They faced some bad backfields, such as the Chiefs, the Raiders, and they've let up more production, more efficiency than you would think to those opposing running backs. That's good for Cam Scatterboo as a value play. Like when they're in it and when that game is close, he should be efficient on the ground, should truck some souls into the earth there. On the flip side, the Browns and Buccaneers have been awesome at limiting explosives for opposing running backs. Could be a downgrade to Jahmyr Gibbs and Saquon Barkley. Talked before about how high salary backs are maybe not as attractive as usual. That's part of it for me, in addition to Derrick Henry's role being kind of weird and things like that. The Raiders' rush defense has also been good, which gives me another reason to ignore DeAndre Swift and maybe bump up the Bears' passing game. If this Raiders defense winds up being a bit of a pass funnel, that could be even more reason to like Caleb Williams and like Rome Odunze as well. So to me, winners on this slate of early defensive numbers are Amari Hampton, Cam Scatterboo, and then the passing games to the Eagles and the Bears. How willing are you to consider numbers that are objectively kind of fluky this time in the year, but also is data we can at least look at defensively.
Well, I haven't heard funnel defense in a while.
You're welcome.
I mean,
shout out 2017.
Was that the year?
I don't know. I'm making that up.
That was.
We've been around the block too long.
I was guilty of it too, but
yeah.
Just it's completely gone by the wayside. I factor in opponents and matchup a bit, but it's really more about opportunities.
Yeah.
And I will use this to confirm my priors, specifically with Amari and Hampton and Cam Scadaboo.
Yeah.
Also the Bears passing offense. The one that we haven't talked about a ton is that Eagles passing offense.
Mm-hmm.
So this sounds aggressive, but like you called me out for potentially being lower on Hurts than you, which is probably true. But where are you with that offense within the context of the slate, that passing offense specifically?
So last week I went up on Hurts as like my highest dollar single entry quarterback, because the thought process was, okay, if they get pushed, we could see this offense finally come to life. And that's what happened. And I see a similar setup this week because I actually took the Bucks plus 3.5. So I expect a pretty close game. I think this total should be higher. I've got it at, I think, like 47 or something. I have it at 47.8. So higher total than the market, tighter spread than the market. That's pretty fun. And I know where to go. I can go to Jalen Hurts, go to AJ Brown, go to Devonta Smith. I can run it back with Emeka Egbuka, Bucky Irving. I think that's actually like if we're looking at game stacks that are a bit different without being, I think, in my eyes, dumb, I think that one's up there personally. So I'm going to stack it. It's not going to be like my go-to single entry one, I don't think. I think I prefer Lamar there over Hurts, but I like it quite a bit. What about you?
Yeah, I like it too. I feel like people, from what I've seen, are a little bit more down on those Bucks offense for being injured. And like they had, 9,000 holding calls, and that could happen again this week. They could just kill their drives. It could be a bit of a blowout. We talked about this one. My model also sees it pretty close, but I don't know if it fully accounts for the idea that the Buccaneers just do kind of stall out a little bit, and we have the Super Bowl champions being awoken and like, hey, we're going to go play some football. It's also a new offensive coordinator, and there's a very good chance that it's just taken a couple weeks for them to open things up. So I like it. I just don't know how to contextualize it. But this is that game specifically is a perfect example of you can play Jalen Hurts, you can play AJ Brown, you can play one of the receivers if you want, or you play Bucky. And it's like, no, I'm staying. This is the game that's good. So you get some exposure there, a couple double stacks, whatever. And everything else is super chalky. Like that's the type of play that I'm trying to make this week. So I have my loves, but there's going to be a lot of like, I've got this core of value players sort of, and then I'm going to stack up the real difference makers however I see fit, basically. And that's a game that I will do that with, but I don't know where I would rank it. Like, where are you ranking that as a game stack in context of this slate? Because I think that might just be, this is probably one of those, like, also, thanks, by the way, I forgot to say this. On Covering the Spread, I feel like you treat me with respect. Like, on this show, I feel like you yell at me more often. So just wanted to say thank you for that.
Well, you're a guest on that show, and you're a co-host in this show. And I got to treat my guests with respect. Co-host, no, I don't.
What I'm realizing is we're probably on the same exact page here.
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay.
Question for you, though.
Yeah.
If you had to guess the Buccaneers' early down passing efficiency, any peep or drop back, if you had to guess where they're, you can guess a number or a rank. What would you guess they're at? This is after adjusting for schedule, but frankly, there's only a very small adjustment for schedule on them. So it's pretty much their flat number.
I don't know. I mean, historically, any peep or drop back overall is like 0.12 to 1.3.
On early downs, average this year is 0.11.
Okay. So on, if you're asking, I'm assuming it's at least 0.20.
Higher.
0.30.
0.27. Which ranks sixth in the NFL for this year. So even with the injuries, like Luke Gedeke missed most of week 2, didn't play week 3. Cody Mock missed all of week 3. Mike Evans missed that drive where Baker alphaed and brought them into score with Ibuka. Like Evans wasn't in for that drive. Now they get Chris Godwin back and Tristan Wirfs. They've had injuries and they've still been productive. It's been more late down stuff that's been a struggle for them. And I think their OC was their third down guy last year, their new OC. So I've got faith that'll stable out eventually. So I don't know. I'm not sure where I feel about Baker as a play this week. I think there are better plays at quarterback, but I think the other ones are interesting. I like Hurts this week again.
It's basically, do you need to sell yourself on Baker having a hero game against the Eagles without Mike Evans? And season long, you're like, I think he's my best shot. And DFS, it's like, you can play somebody else if you want to.
Yep. And Mahomes is right there. I think, I don't know if I'll use Baker. I will use Hurts, and I will use the rest of the guys in this game too. In game stacks, if I'm not stacking this game, I'll probably be lower on it for like one-offs and stuff. But for game stacks, I do like it quite a bit. Bucky, I'll like outside of game stacks, but that's the only one there. Mm-hmm. Weather for this week, there's nothing. It's great. There are a lot of indoor games. Frankly, I'm in love with the weather for this slate. So let's go now, position by position on FanDuel and lay out our favorite plays for this week, number 4 main FanDuel slate. Brandon, let's begin things at quarterback. We discussed a bit how we're feeling about things. We've not discussed Josh Allen yet, but let's talk about the top end guys. Got Lamar there at 87, Hurts 85, Josh Allen 9,000. Is it Lamar number 1 with a bullet for you, or how are you feeling about the other guys?
Yeah, he is. Now, I had this and then I got sidetracked and cleared some stuff out. I'm looking up Josh Allen is a big favorite, but I want to point out that their implied team total is like 32 points, I think, currently.
Yeah.
Which is, I believe, 5 points higher than anybody else's on the board. So
I also have that total higher than what it is in the market, which means it's higher for me.
So I'm going to talk about Josh Allen here, but I'm going to throw it back to you. Should we be considering him more than it seems like we might be?
I'm worried they don't put their foot on the gas in this game. Given they are favored as much as they are, they could say, okay, go win this game. Don't feel the need to have Josh Allen doing tush pushes. That's my concern. Don't have James Cook play a 55% snap rate. Keep him in the 45, 50% range, that kind of stuff. So like he could torch my face off, and I know that, but I'm okay being a bit lower given they may not need to do a ton in this one.
Yeah. So in games with totals of at least 45.5, where Buffalo has been a 7-point favorite, Josh Allen somehow has 14 games in that split. He's gone over 25 FanDuel points in 29% of those. Lamar in his relevant samples like 44%, and over 30 in just 7%. So like if you're looking for the high end ceiling, and this is not to say, well, therefore Josh Allen cannot and will not outscore Lamar Jackson.
Correct.
Or that he will not go for 30.
Correct.
It's just, let's think about this holistically here. Like you said, Josh Allen doesn't have to put his head down and run through a wall unless this game's the market's completely off here and this is a close game.
Right.
So with that said, I think you just deprioritize him. But at the same time, I'm not going to talk anybody out of playing him.
No.
Complicating things, though, is like, there's not a lot of great stack candidates. So you're kind of banking on the fact that he would score a bunch of rushing touchdowns here, like 2. And does he need to do that, or are they just going to give him to James Cook, keep him happy? Like
it could be they give it to Ray Davis, frankly.
Well, after the 3-minute mark in the third quarter when they're up,
Yep.
So I just don't know how you justify him over Lamar, honestly.
Same page. Yep. Yeah. Lamar though, QB1 for you?
I don't see the case not to.
Okay.
Like I don't know how you walk away from this one if you're Baltimore and just be like, you know what, we got beat. Lamar, we only gave him we kind of tried to rein him in. We handed the ball to Derrick Henry and check down to Justice Hill or something like that. Like Lamar's got to go out and try to win this game. I know he's on the road, but sometimes that's not a huge thing. And I don't think this team is going to be that rattled. I think we're going to see a classic Lamar rushing game here. And from a process standpoint, I have the salary to get there, so he's going to be my QB1.
How are you with Hurts? I talked more about him than you did. How are you feeling at 85?
I still think he's a bit of a bet against Lamar having a huge game. I don't know. Like, do you think the toothpaste is out of the tube and this team's going to just be throwing the ball more?
Nope, but I think there's a chance they trail again. That's it.
If I have to sell myself on the concept that he's going to be good if his team's trailing, that takes him way out of QB1 conversation.
Oh,
for me.
yeah,
So
not QB1 conversation, yes, but will he be in your player pool for tournaments?
I like to try to play no more than 4-ish quarterbacks. Let's just say I don't have Purdy. Hurts would be in there, I think.
Okay. Because to me, it's Lamar, Purdy, Caleb, and Hurts are like my top 4.
See, like Hurts more than Mahomes and Herbert.
Mm-hmm. I do.
I don't know that I quite do, but maybe I should.
Okay. I just like
there's another.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's another interesting name that we'll get to here in a bit as well.
Well, let's scroll down then, because Jaden Daniels, we're both okay being lower on due to he could be limited. Atlanta's defense is not as bad as it used to be. So getting into the 7K range, what stands out to you here?
I still like Herbert. He's not in like that top 3 conversation, but from a tournament standpoint, I think he makes a ton of sense. It's very, very easy to justify. Mahomes, he might be more of just the 4:00 slate guy that I get to.
Sure.
To be different, despite loving Lamar. Just like, well, maybe Lamar's not great and maybe Mahomes just matches him and I go a little bit of a different route. So I like both, but they're more tertiary plays. What about for you on those two? I know you're not as big on Herbert as I am, but will you play any? Will you play Mahomes? Where you at?
I'm more likely to play Mahomes than Herbert, I think. Just because I like that game so much and it's so important. Whereas Chargers are 3-0, stuff like that. Larger spread, lower total.
Yeah, I don't know if they come out and like give one back though. I think they just try to prove that they're
it's not
the
giving
best
it.
team
Jackson Dart takes it.
Oh my gosh. Like they got through their entire division. I just think that we're going to see some good stuff from the Chargers.
I think it'll be good, but I think if we get playoff Pat, that's hard for me to turn down. So I prefer Mahomes over Herbert. There's a decent chance Herbert does not wind up in my player pool on Sunday. I'm not going to talk you out of him. I think it's a fine play, but
I don't think you could, because I don't understand how it's bad unless they just get like maybe it's like a pick 6.
It's an indoor team going outdoors, playing on the East Coast at 1 p.m. Like there are some factors working against. I know it's not as big of a thing as like people make it to be, but like I do care about the indoor going outdoors.
That's fine. That's the biggest case.
Yeah.
But I still think that Herbert is,
All right. So getting the mid-range, we got Baker 77, Goff 76, Caleb 75, Daniel Jones 74. Let's just do the rest of the 7,000 range. Mm-hmm. I know there's some names in there, but how are you feeling about these guys? Anyone stand out to you?
I don't think I'm going to force with Baker, really.
I think I agree. I respect the Eagles defense enough.
I mentioned there was going to be a name. We get
Is it the MVP?
We get a pocket passer against. He's indoors at home against a really, really good rush defense. Everyone's talking about. You want to talk about your Ravens Chiefs. You want to talk about how favored your Bills are. If Detroit can go lay it on a team that just beat the Packers, like, tell me why he can't go for 350 and 4 here.
Oh, we got to further the MVP agenda. He's 33-1. Just throwing that out there. We're talking about Jared Goff, of course.
Yes.
At 76, you mentioned the Browns rush defense. I think that's a pertinent point because when you look at their schedule adjusted numbers, it's been more what they've done against the rush than what they've done against the pass. Like they're actually, again, just based on my numbers, they are league average against the pass on early downs. We know the Lions can beat up bad defenses or beat up good defenses. We've seen them do that before. They're at home. They're indoors. I don't think anyone's going to use Jared Goff this week. It would have to be like I've got a lot of lineups. Probably 20 is the breaking point where I get to Goff. But like Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta in a game where they have a massive implied total, that works pretty well, I think. Maybe JMO. JMO's salary has gotten up there a little bit, but like, I think I can stack this. I could go there. Not a guarantee I get there, but I want to make sure I consider him.
Yeah, I mean, their implied team total was second best on the board despite the defensive matchup. We saw Cleveland on the road against the Ravens. Lamar went for 225 on just 29 attempts and 4 touchdowns. Like, again, this is one of those spots where Jared Goff could just, it's like, oh man, he threw for almost 400 yards and we basically know where the ball's going. It's one of those, we talk about being different without being dumb. This is potentially borderline dumb, but I also don't really think it is because of what the implied team total says. And pocket passers have relevance if they hit that like 85th percentile outcome of 350 plus. He'll get the bonus, multiple touchdowns. And in this specific spot, he might throw just like, remember that time he threw 50 times for 4 touchdowns, like just because they chose not to run the ball. Yeah. So I think he at least stands out. It's a much easier case for the guy below him, Caleb Williams, in terms of like path of resistance. So cash games way more likely to play Caleb, but I'm still going to try, get to Lamar. Yep. Where are you with Caleb here?
Think he'll wind up being my QB4. I think I'll wind up having Hurts above him personally, but like I'll have him in my player pool, and I feel pretty firm in saying that. So like solid play for me. I think if you were like, hey, Caleb's my cash game guy, I'm not going to push back on that too much. I don't think I would. I'd prefer probably Lamar there, but like I get it. So I like him quite a bit. Same for you.
Yeah. And I just, again, don't know how you don't get to Lamar. Potentially we get Purdy. So he's in that convo.
Sure.
I think we're on the same page.
Okay. Lower 7K range. You've been on Drake May often this year. We got Matthew Stafford at $7,000. We have not talked about that Panthers-Patriots game. I forgot to talk about Ted McMillan in the injury section. He has a calf injury. I just kind of skip by that note. I think he'll play still. He's day-to-day, but just noting that. Any interest in May and then Stafford as well at 7,000?
May's a little bit underrated, I think, from an efficiency standpoint. His like composite numbers without turnovers are really good. He's like top 6 in the league, I think. An EPA plus CPOE composite. Once you remove everyone's turnovers, which can really skew things for quarterbacks in a small sample, I just don't know who you stack them with, other than unless you just go with Hunter Henry, which I think is viable. But I don't know if you really need to do it this week. So I'm probably out. It's not that I'm scared off because the Panthers just blanked the Falcons. I think the Patriots have their issues, but I'm not that concerned. Because I don't really believe in the Falcons right now a ton. So not going to get there. I'd rather play Matt Stafford and hope that he has the Goff game that we just talked about. Take basically everything we said about Goff. Same thing applies to Stafford, I think, just to a lesser degree.
We probably prefer Stafford over Goff, right?
If I'm building like I got a single entry here. I built like my kind of top 5 lineups. I pull up a single entry. I think I would go with Stafford.
Yeah.
The Goff thing is more of a
don't forget.
It's not really a galaxy brain play.
Yeah.
I don't think people will get there, but it's a really sharp play, I think, if it pans out that way. So I'm more likely to plug in Stafford first and just double stack him and hope that I get all the touchdowns.
Same. I agree. Okay. Below 7,000, we've talked about Brock Purdy. Let's give the sales pitch on Brock Purdy. And then are there any other $6,000 quarterbacks you like?
I mean, the sales pitch is one of the most efficient quarterbacks in football when he's on the field against a defense that I don't really care too much about.
Obvious
traveling
partners.
East to west. You got the stack partners. He can run if he's healthy. I don't know if we'll run a ton here, but like
people won't use him.
I think people might, depending on what the health reports are.
Okay. I thought because of the other
People
options.
love a low salary quarterback. They just feel like it makes you be able to play anybody you can. Like Marcus Mariota, like he got there, scored that early rushing touchdown, but it wasn't like he killed anyone. Brock Purdy's also got like bigger upside than a Marcus Mariota. So
gosh,
is he QB1 if he's totally good and ready to go?
If he's full by Friday and Juwan Jennings is good to go, I would consider it. I'd probably still favor Lamar, I think.
Yeah, I think
but he's in that consideration.
He's like QB 1.5 in that case.
I can live with that. Okay. Who are your loves at quarterback? All things considered.
Lamar.
Yep.
Purdy.
Yep.
I don't know if I could give anybody else a strong love. It's all stack dependent, I think, from there. But I think Caleb is the name I would go to next at this
Hurts
point.
And Caleb are the two likes for me after Lamar and Brock Purdy being the loves. Running back. We've talked a bit about these upper salary guys, but not fully. Let's go Saquon 87 on up. McCaffrey's running back 1 in that range, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
His workload,
is he a tier above the rest? Because I think he is.
I don't even know if I could quite put him there because I think it diminishes what the other guys are doing.
Sure.
Like JT's shown the multi-touchdown ceiling. McCaffrey just hasn't yet. But he's at the front of that tier. I mean, has McCaffrey even gone to? He hasn't gone to 20 yet. Oh, he's gonna. Boy, the historical. How many times he got to 20? It's gonna be just 18.7, 19.7, and 19. So
what in the world?
But I think it's between. So you said Saquon and up.
Yeah.
McCaffrey's clearly at the top of that tier, but I still think that there's a tier of JT. And I also want to throw in a get right spot Bijan in there. Like it's really easy to forget about Bijan coming off of what, I mean, he didn't do anything wrong last week. Coming off of getting blanked on the scoreboard. How do you not come back to this and just get him 8 targets and like
people are getting fired in Atlanta already. They fired their receivers coach. Their offense coordinator is now coming down to the sideline as opposed to being in the booth. Seats are hot, baby. And if the seat's hot in Atlanta, I'm riding Bijan. So I think that Bijan is the RB2 in the upper range behind McCaffrey, slightly ahead of JT. That's how I rank them. I think they're all ahead of Henry and Saquon personally.
I think JT, but specifically Bijan being so lively is the reason I couldn't just say McCaffrey's so far ahead of these other guys. I
think that's a fair argument. Are we too low on Saquon and Henry? I don't think I am personally. I think that there are issues with those guys. Henry, the passing game usage and the weird offensive line stuff. Saquon, pretty tough matchup with the Buccaneers and hasn't been hyper efficient so far this year and does lose goal line work to Hurts. That's why I'm lower on these two. Am I dismissing them too much?
So the argument for you're dismissing them is just, you're looking too much at the box scores, but the usage itself can evaporate for these guys. I don't know if either of them are going to get run into the ground this week, despite being pretty impactful games. I mean, really for Philly too. If you're looking for the 1 seed long term, every game's important, especially when you're playing a team that could be, off to a good record. You want to make sure that you put some distance between you and them. Yeah, Saquon could have the JT game, but it hasn't really been there, and he's always going to lose those touchdown opportunities, which is really, really difficult. So I would play them in game stacks, but that's it.
Yeah, I will use Henry in game stacks. I would use Saquon in game stacks, but I'm not enthused overly about it either. I'm not really into James Cook, given they probably won't have to use him a ton. His salary's gone way up. Jahmyr Gibbs, I worry about the matchup. I love his workload, and I'll be there long term, but I don't like the matchup all that much. We can lump in Kyron at 78 and Kamara 75. I don't view anybody in this range as being a priority. How about you?
I've got like more tournament losing upside from James Cook than I do like Saquon right now, which says a lot about how explosive he is and how much the game flow could favor him through 3 quarters. If you get 3 quarters of like no real resistance, then you just look at what, New Orleans was scrappy weeks 1 and 2, and then they went on the road and just got floored. Like
and
that could happen
fly
again.
Back to New Orleans. They fly from Seattle to New Orleans, back out to Buffalo. Like that's pretty tough.
So James Cook is just more interesting to me than Saquon. Frankly, even Henry at this point. From I
like Henry more, but
just from a pure GPP upside standpoint, though, like
I still like Henry more. Tight game. I like that for running backs, so that's where I settle.
Substantially more likely to be James Cook's path of being irrelevant here is after Buffalo is leading by so much.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's is, the Chiefs are good and we're trailing, and Derrick Henry barely plays in the second half.
That's fair. But upside,
so largely I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm not really here for these guys.
Okay, agreed. It picks back up in the lower 7K range. Specifically, we have Bucky Irving 73. Travis Etienne, I'm not going to use 71. Amari and Hampton 7,000. And then we want to take Ashton Genty 68. We can. But I think that Bucky's a solid play. I haven't talked a lot about him yet. Eagles haven't been amazing against the rush. It's not just the Jalen Carter game. Like even the Rams had some solid run plays against them last week. And in the first 3 games, Bucky's at 18.7 carries per game and 4.7 targets. That's a really good workload for that's not a Bijan type role. Is Bijan type usage though for 73? He's not as good as Bijan, but like you're getting pretty good usage. And then Hampton at 7,000, a lot of targets last week, plus 19 carries, good matchup for him. I think Hampton is a core play. Bucky's like a fringe core play, which to me is like a 30 to 40% usage kind of guy. You look like you're lower on him though.
No.
Okay.
So he's second in adjusted opportunities per game. It's carries plus double your targets for running backs. The reason for that is a target on average is worth twice as many FanDuel points than a carry long term. McCaffrey's at 38.7 adjusted opportunities per game. Yeah. Bucky's second at 28 even, and Bijan, like you said, it's a Bijan level role. Bijan's at 27.7, so just 0.3 adjusted opportunities difference there. But in terms of rushing success rate, McCaffrey and Bijan right in the 42% range. Bucky right now 27%.
Yeah.
What's Rachaad White? Because Rachaad White feels like he's looking decent. Oh my gosh! All right, it's gonna make your heart hurt. Rushing success rate for Bucky, as I said, 27%. What do you think Rachaad White's is?
40.
65.
Oh.
It's 5.7 carries per game, but like I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah.
That's not great for Bucky long term, but the salary of 73, this guy's still got 120 yard and a touchdown upside. And so I think there's still a Rachaad White situation is factored in a bit more for Bucky, but I'm with you where I'd rather go Hampton than Bucky from like a main standpoint. How are you ranking? Unless you already did, sorry if you did, but Bucky, Hampton, and Genty.
Genty dead last and by a wide margin. He is a fringe consideration for the player pool. Bucky, Hampton's going to be like a 50 to 70% kind of play for me. And Bucky will be a 30 to 40%. So that's where I settle in there.
I feel like I'm right there with you.
Perfect. Let's scroll down to the 6,000 range at running back. Anybody else in the 6,000 range you're looking to use this week?
I typically don't like being down here.
I agree.
Whenever I have all those running backs we talked about, but Quinshon Judkins, the game script's not going to set up for him, but I think the talent's kind of undeniable right now.
He looks really good.
They're gonna try to get him the ball as long as they can, and if not, we're already starting to see some targets peppered his way. I really feel like this could be maybe you pull up like the single game DFS perfect, and it's like five Lions and Quinshon Judkins like kind of thing. Yeah. 6,300. Typically, we'd be screaming like, "Don't play a running back in this game script," but there's a lot more that goes into it than just don't play an underdog running back. I really think that the salary doesn't account for what his potential is. Like you talk about Genty versus like Judkins, who's more likely to get you 100 rushing yards, get that bonus. Like I think it's pretty obvious right now.
Sure.
Tony Pollard, I'll just shout out. I'm not really going to get there against this defense, but
No,
the role is still really good.
it's the last game with no Tyjae Spears, which is upsetting. I wanted more Pollard in my life, but they've just been so bad.
So where are you with Judkins, and who, I guess let's recap the 6K range.
I think there's enough elsewhere running back where I don't feel the need to use a guy who I think is on a team that should be favored or like double-digit underdogs.
Right.
So I've got the Lions like heavily favored in this game. I agree with you on the talent, agree with you on the role. I'll probably pass over him though. So I probably will not use a running back in the 6K range at all unless I use Genty personally.
I think I need at least one Goff Judkins stack.
That's fair enough.
And go chalk elsewhere.
I'm cool with that. I do like couple backs in the 5K range though, those being Trevion Henderson 57, and that's a soft like even at 57, just because his role was so good after all the fumbles last week. And whereas Cam Scadaboo is the RB1 for me at 54, 10 carries, 8 targets last week, 121 yards from scrimmage. The Chargers have let up sneaky production to running backs, even though they faced some really bad ones. And they're going to run the ball this week with Jackson Dart starting. So Scadaboo is the RB1. Henderson, wouldn't be shocked if I don't use him, but I want to at least consider him given how good the role was after all the fumbles. Any 5K range backs? Any thoughts on those two?
Sorry, those two specifically as Henderson and Scadaboo?
Yes.
Yeah, Scadaboo's the RB1. Henderson, it's still telling that it took 2 Ramondre fumbles, 1 at the goal line.
Because he had his own mistakes too. Like he had 3 penalties in one game, which is not ideal.
I clocked him at 83% of the snaps after Antonio Gibson's fumble, but it's like, it doesn't scream like we're waiting to get this guy going.
Correct.
Like, that doesn't mean he won't play 70% of the snaps and get a good workload. It's more a matter of he could still play, 50% of the snaps here.
And I don't trust this offense yet. So that's
so I think people are probably going to be clamoring. I didn't run the optimizers. I like to run the optimizers from different places just to see before the show, but I didn't do it this week. I'm assuming he's in that conversation though, as people over project like his output here. So I think it's just Scadaboo.
Yep. I'd agree with that too. Okay.
And sorry, I was digging into the splits here. Scadaboo. Sorry if you said this. What percent of lineups?
80.
I might go like 90 even.
Sure. I will not be lower than 80.
At just 54,
80 is my floor.
I don't know what else you could ask for.
I agree. Okay. So loves at running back includes Scadaboo. Who else?
Scadaboo, McCaffrey.
Yes.
Hampton. Those are the big 3. Strong likes on Bijan. Or I guess strong like on Bijan and a strong like on Bucky.
I'd flip those two. Strong like on Bucky, strong like on Bijan, but I agree with those two being the next 2 up.
Okay.
That's where I think I settle in there. Okay. Wide receiver. I get to use Puka Nacua this week at 94. That makes my heart very happy. How are you viewing the top end receivers this week?
We got the salary, but unfortunately, it's not like the best high-end receiver.
Classic Jefferson. There's no classic Jamar Chase in the slate. Actually, there are no actual Lamb. Jefferson or actual Chase, but no
actual CeeDee Lamb. Like Nico Collins is like the only beacon in the darkness.
The darkness is there, bud.
So Puka, you want to play him.
I do.
Let's treat him differently than everyone else here.
Yes.
If you could play 2 of JT, McCaffrey, Bijan, and Puka, who's it going to be?
Puka and McCaffrey.
Okay, so you like Puka more than Bijan, basically.
I do.
Okay, interesting.
Do you?
I should be receptive to it, but it's just it's so much harder to, like, he's different. You get Jamar Chase up there. It's like, well, he's the wide receiver 1, but he's getting like 30% of targets. They're efficient. Like Puka's getting target on 40% of his routes. Like
38% overall target share. Like factoring in the fact that he doesn't play every snap. Like 38% raw target share.
Yeah.
And he gets some rushing attempts too, and he can house those.
It's a good game. I still think I'd lean Bijan.
Okay. But
with positional scarcity, maybe it just becomes Puka. It's so close though, which is saying a lot for Puka, because if this were like, no offense to a Jamar Chase, but in terms of like a baseline standpoint, and we don't talk about floor because there's really no floor in football. Like, it's such a different way to get his work in for Puka that he's different than just hoping for 2 big splash plays on 11 targets. Like, he's going to get 15,
and he can get those splash plays too.
And he can, I think you're selling me on him. Does Amon-Ra do enough to consider him outside of game stacks?
Not outside of game stacks, just because the salary's high enough. But like, I want to have some exposure because he has a 40% red zone target share this year, with a 47% deep target share. My main objection to Amon-Ra has always been he doesn't get enough downfield targets. He's getting those this year, and they're at home, they're indoors, they're facing a potential pass funnel in the Browns. People ignore him because of the larger spread. I think that he makes sense this week, but not outside of game stacks. So, like, he's one I want to, like, okay, I've finished my lineups. Let's find some like low dollar single entry and pepper in some Amon-Ra lineups with like Amon-Ra with Lamar Jackson, Amon-Ra with Jalen Hurts, Amon-Ra with like, check the box at quarterback kind of thing. My FOMO lineups.
Yeah, he's still got that ceiling, just in a different way. He's sort of like Puka in that sense.
Yeah.
Although he actually gets red zone work.
He does. He does. How are you feeling about the rest of this? Yeah.
Yeah, those 2 guys stand out to me. I might just be okay missing out on the neighbors game.
Yep. Agreed.
Maybe in a Herbert stack, I just say, you know what, he gets, didn't he have 20 targets in a game last year? Like,
I think so.
Maybe they just,
I think he had 21 in the game where he left with a concussion.
I think so. I'm in a PPR league, so I was like very in tune to his target numbers there, but that's about it. I love Nico, but I'm not doing it. I don't have to play this team, so I'd rather not. AJ Brown,
yeah.
I still have to sell myself on the fact that they would throw.
Would you use him in a non-Hurts lineup?
No.
I think I agree, but I'm going to have enough Hurts lineups where I'll have AJ Brown.
That's fine, but he's just not a play him by himself guy.
I agree. I think that's fair. We get to Lad McConkey 77, Brian Thomas Jr. is still 75, Devontae Adams 74, Zay. Okay, let's not go to the lower range yet. Where are you on McConkey and BTJ?
Well, okay, Lad's a tournament play. In my Herbert stacks, he's not a one-off. I still think better days are ahead for him, but could someone pay you to play BTJ?
No.
Okay.
If I miss out, I miss out. So be it. That's where I'm at. I do like the lower end of the 7K range though. Devontae Adams, $7,400. Zay, 73. Adunze, 72. Egbuka, up to $7,000. I like all those guys.
Wow. Just right over Drake London.
Who?
Oh my gosh.
How many targets London the past 2 weeks? Like 5?
Oh, come
12.
on.
Close enough. He hasn't had more than 55 yards this year.
They barely threw against.
Barely threw because their quarterback isn't very good.
Yeah, that I know. But they barely. They're 2 road games. They barely.
What is this?
It's not good. I agree that he's at the bottom of this tier, but I don't think I'd write him off entirely. I just think that I'm not going to build enough lineups to get there.
If I use a Drake London lineup, it means I have one less Adunze, Egbuka, or Flowers lineup, and I don't want that.
That's fine.
Okay.
He doesn't hold up to these other guys. So I think ranking this tier would be tricky.
I think Ibuka is third. So I put
So
Zay and Odunze above him.
Are we? Sorry, did you cut off Devontae?
Oh,
on
sorry,
purpose?
I did not on purpose, but I did. So I'd probably put Ibuka fourth. Then I'd put Devontae above him.
So Devontae 1, Rome 2, Zay 3.
Yep.
Ibuka 4.
Hard agree on all those, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let's go down to the 6K range at receiver. Who stands out to you here?
Our guy, Jameson Williams, salary up at 6,800 would make you think that he's earned a huge target share. It's not the case.
You simultaneously love and hate to see it.
Yeah.
I think it's target share is like 13%, right?
If you showed me this in August, I'd be like, oh my gosh, the breakout is happening. He's
like,
very
the thing
good.
is, he looks really good. He's not getting any targets.
It's not enough to play him. I'll play him in those golf lineups that I talked about, but outside of that, that's it. I can't do Worthy. We talked about that being a problem. There's just not enough if he is limited and if he's full. Yeah. So Keenan, Debo, Pearsall. I'm taking over host duties here. Let's talk about those three and how they stack up for you.
I'm probably, oh man, is Juwan Jennings playing? Can we set that parameter for Pearsall?
Let's say no.
I'm probably putting Pearsall first then.
Yeah.
Pearsall first, Debo second, Keenan third. Oh, well, if it's Mariota, I'd put Keenan above Debo. But if it's Daniels, I put Debo above Keenan.
A lot of conditionals, but I think that's the right.
Yeah.
I think that's how you have to think about it. But Keenan, Debo, and Pearsall, if Jennings plays and if Mariota plays, none of them are real musts.
I agree.
And then we get to just more of similar conversations right below that.
DJ Moore 63, Quentin Johnston at 62, Jacoby Myers 61. I think I've talked myself out of Myers now, given the Trey Tucker of it all. I still like Quentin Johnston a lot, though, at 62. I think he's the best play in this range. I
agree. I don't mind Jacoby. I think the target volume will come back up and more of an offensive friendly game. His yardage has been fine. He hasn't scored yet through the air. But Quentin Johnston, is he a cash game level play?
No, I don't trust it enough for that. They've got three guys who can earn targets. I'm not there for a cash game, but I like him for tournaments.
I agree.
Okay. DJ Moore, I don't know. It's been weird vibes and weird usage for him. He has an 18% target share, no more than 6 targets in any game. He has 18% deep target share, 1 red zone target. That's not fun.
It's not. But
yeah,
in a stack, sure.
Yeah.
Outside of that, no.
Okay. And then Chris Godwin, 61. First game off of that ankle injury. I feel like he gets eased back in. Pretty humid in Tampa Bay. Conditioning might not be there. I am probably not going to use Godwin this week. What about for you?
I think I'd plug him in for stacks.
Okay.
To a degree, but not force it too much.
Okay. Scrolling down.
Hasn't he been practicing for a while, though?
He has, but also it's week 4. So it's kind of like that's been his training camp. And if training camp were a week and a half, I probably wouldn't expect a guy to play a full complement of snaps.
That's fair. But boy, if Tampa could go get this one.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Okay. 6,000 on down. Who are you eyeing down there? Because I don't think there's a lot this week.
You're not interested in the NFL's target leader?
Is that Olave?
Yeah.
Really?
Let me double check.
That's nuts. Oh, he's got the Drake London going on. That's why I haven't noticed.
Yeah, 12.3 per game. No touchdowns, 21 yards under expectation per game. $110
per game.
Yards.
21 under expectation per game, not across the 3 games combined.
Yeah. I mean, that's not that outrageous.
That's pretty bad.
Brian Thomas is 39 under expectation.
Well, it's understandable with Spencer Rattler and Trevor Lawrence as their quarterbacks. I'm joking. Please don't hate me.
Well, yeah, some other name. I'm not going to air anybody else out. I still can't get there. Like typically this is going to be like a target per dollar kind of love and a game where he should see another massive share. His also his expected touchdown numbers are pretty decent too.
Sure.
I think you could do worse whenever I feel like if I'm playing Josh Allen at all, I just plug in Olave and be like, you know what? He gets 16 targets, 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
So there's some pushback.
Sure.
But that's about it. If Juwan plays, any interest there?
Yeah. If he gets in a full practice on Friday, I would have interest there because, like, we know he's a guy who can earn a lot of targets. There's not a lot of competition there with no Kittle still. I believe in Brock Purdy. So, yeah, I'd use Jennings if he's full by Friday.
I agree.
Okay. Outside of that, like, Michael Pittman's fine. Tet, if he were full by Friday, be fine. I do like Christian Kirk, unfortunately, at 55. 22% target share in his return. But honestly, there's not a lot in the 5K range. Can you talk me into anyone?
No, I also kind of jotted down just Rashad Bateman in case.
Sure.
But like, I don't think I'm going to end up getting there. I think that this is a week where you take some value, some savings at running back.
Yep.
Look more at that mid-range at receiver. I thought I was going to come away with this with a lot of loves at receiver or really narrow it down. I don't know if I did.
I just love like upper end guys.
Yeah.
Like my loves are Puka.
Yeah.
I love a Devontae. Really, really like Rome.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty into Pearsall and Quentin Johnston. So it's like I don't have any loves or even like strong likes below QJ at 62.
I kind of agree.
Okay. Who were your loves then?
Puka, Devontae, Rome.
Okay.
I might put Pearsall with Purdy anyway. I think I might do. Just
okay. That works. Finishing up a tight end. Well, I guess we have defense, but tight end. I like Bauer 67 for game stacks, and I think I'll have the salary to get there, although I'm less convinced I'll have the salary to get there based on the receiver discussion. If I'm burning 3 slots on guys at $6,200 or higher, maybe I don't get to Bowers. I think there are consolation prizes I do like, so I'm fine with that. But I do like Bowers enough. How are you settling in on him? And then any Kelsey for you?
Bowers is if I can, it's great. If not, I'm not going to force it.
So not a priority. Because I agree with that. Yeah.
Kelsey, I think in Mahomes lineups, yes. Outside of that, probably not. Not even Lamar lineups, I don't think.
It's a 17% target share this year for him. Even with Hollywood or with Worthy being out. That's tough.
Yeah.
Great. Also, there's some 5K for like other tight ends I like, so I don't feel the need to force with Kelsey. We like tight ends in games with massive implied totals. Sam Laporta checks that box. We got Tyler Warren 58, Juwan Johnson, probably like number 2 or 3 in targets in the league. He's 57, Hunter Henry 55. I like a lot of guys down here. Who are the tight ends you're prioritizing at Laporta and lower?
Well, Laporta's on the list, but I prefer Tyler Warren just for his overall workload. But Laporta himself, high implied team total at home. Again, just the touchdowns could come through the air.
The mustache is tough, though. That does hurt.
You can't bank on it. So it's
can't bank on the mustache. I agree.
Well, you can't bank on like he might not be heavily utilized. So I'd rather go Tyler Warren in most lineups. Juwan Johnson, I guess you make a similar case where you did what I did with Chris Olave. And it's like, look, if they're just throwing all game, then sure. Outside of that, I don't really want too much exposure to a tight end whose team might not score or score one time kind of. So Warren again stands out there. Dalton Kincaid though is on a heavy favorite.
Sure.
For what that's worth, just kind of throwing that out there. Hunter Henry makes a good amount of sense though too at home. I know it's not just point chasing, but he's really kind of the guy you can trust the most for Drake May.
Yeah. So he has a 21% target share with a 27% deep target share. Those were all in week 1. So, that's worth noting. But also 42% red zone share for Hunter Henry. So if I'm swinging at a Patriot, it's him. He's a cash game consideration, I think. Him and Warren are probably my favorite cash game plays.
I agree. And they were more appealing than Bowers.
Yeah.
For what they would open up.
Yep, I agree. So loves a tight end, Warren and Henry.
Warren and Henry, yeah. That's where I'm
and
selling
then
in.
Juwan is in there for me as a guy I'll use too. Bowers I'll use as well. Defense, not as plentiful with lower salary plays as it was last week, but there's still some options, I would say, down here. What are you seeing for defense for this week?
Not a ton, like you said. We like to start from the bottom up, and it's a little trickier, and sometimes that makes the difference. And I have to kind of understand that I can't just play a $3,100 defense every time I build a lineup this week. So might need to plug in a defense earlier than typical. If I'm going up from the bottom, the first team that I would feel great about, I mean, I could maybe say Carolina. I'd feel okay about.
I will use Carolina. They're the lowest salary team I'll use. Yeah. I'd have some Falcons if there's Mariota.
Again, like, who do you feel really like?
I feel great about the Texans, but they're $4,400.
Right.
I like the Chargers at 4,000. Yeah.
Chargers.
But I'm going to have so much Scatterboo. It's like, yeah, that's tough.
True.
So even them, it's like, okay. The ones I'm willing to use, we got the Texans at 44 against Cam Ward, though he missed practice Wednesday too. So maybe not even Cam Ward. Geez. 49ers at 42 because the Jags have weird vibes and just are frankly a weird team.
Mm-hmm.
Chargers against a rookie quarterback in his first start. Rams at 39. Daniel Jones. If we get which one is the bad one? It's Mr. Hyde's the bad one, right?
I don't know that story.
Okay. I think Dr. Jekyll's a good one. Mr. Hyde's the creepy one. If we get Daniel Hyde back out there as opposed to Daniel Jekyll, I could see the Rams being fun because they're going to get some pressure, even against a good offensive line. So I don't mind them. The Rams at 39, and then Falcons, Panthers is like the lower salaried ones.
Yeah, it's I might be plugging in the Texans defense first and seeing what I can make happen.
Sure. I think that makes sense too. Okay. Any final thoughts for you for this week 4 main slate?
I still think there are a handful of really obvious loves, mostly with like a Scatterboo type, Omari and Hampton. But outside of that, the rest of how I build my lineups is going to depend on, in this situation, do I think game X is the best game? I'm going to stack that one up. So to go beyond that and say, I think my player pool is going to be a little bit wider. It's still going to be narrow, but it's going to be all dependent on the games that I'm on. Because again, about 4 of these, if it's a typical week, about 4 of these are going to go over 50. About 4 of them are going to go under 40. And on an 11-game slate, if you can get a lineup full of 2 of the only 4 great games, that's where things matter for tournaments.
And I think that, again, we have a good idea of what those games may be. And that's encouraging for me as well. That is all we have here for today on the Heat Check. As mentioned, you can check out the Covering the Spread podcast Brandon and I did earlier on today. That is up on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Broke down betting thoughts in the week 4 slate. Tomorrow, Aiden Cotter will join me to break down his thoughts on NFL player props for this week. Also had Riley Thomas on Wednesday to break down a really fun college football slate for this week. All those shows available on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. So make sure you're subscribed there. Leave us a thumbs up. If you're watching YouTube, made it all the way to the end of the show. We appreciate those of you who stuck it out for the entire 2 hours. Brandon, people have questions for you on social media. Where can they find you there?
I'm on X at Gdula13, GDULA13, and on Blue Sky at Gdula.
And I am on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes, on Threads at Jim.Sannes, and you can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work in the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your Week 4 NFL DFS lineups. Enjoy the football. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been the Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast.